in the times that I'm most insecure is when I'm spending the most, is when I'm like, well, this is going to make me feel better. This is going to give me that quick hit. I'm going to book this trip. I'm going to go to this really fancy restaurant because I fucking can. And it's just kind of, I do it as a fuck you, realizing like the only person I'm screwing over is myself.
Kiss my aesthetics, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship.
Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. Amber is the most popular name that we have on the podcast as guests. Did you know this?
No, I didn't. But I have a
We
story
have a
for
lot
you
of
when you're done.
Ambers. We have Amber Figlow. We've got you. We've got there's another Amber. Now I feel terrible because I'm forgetting the third Amber. But anyway, welcome.
I have to tell
welcome
you,
to the show.
thank you so much for having me. Like, I'm so excited for your listeners to honestly just be a fly on the wall, like as we kiki and hang out. And let me start us off with a bang. So I'm about to get married in like 2 months, which is
So
nuts.
excited.
I know, it's crazy. But I am the fifth Amber that my fiance had dated. Number 5.
Fifth? Wow.
Fifth. He had dated 4 other Ambers before me, and I need to get a new Gmail address. And of course, his last name's like not that uncommon. So I'm trying to like put the combos together. And I can't get any combos except for Amber, my new last name, 5 at gmail.com.
Five. The fifth.
So I think for
Amber the fifth.
literally as long as I live, like I will just always have to remember that there was 4 other Ambers before me.
Wow, that is a wild story. That's almost as wild as us sharing a podcast editor. Hi, Berta.
Hi, Berta. We love you.
We love you. Oh my gosh. So exciting to have you on. I can't believe we haven't done this sooner. But for anyone who doesn't know you, like I know you, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and who you help?
I would love to. My name is Amber Frankhuizen. My full-time job, my grown-up job, is I own an agency. And similarly to what Michelle and her team does, we do branding, we do social media, we do graphics, we do websites, we do all those types of things. But our focus is working with hospitality groups and real estate developers. So my background was in real estate development. I got to do everything from buying pieces of dirt to working with architects and the designers and the entitlements, like fighting City Hall to get our homes built, all those types of things, all the way through sellout of multi-million-dollar luxury homes and condo buildings and all the things. And so I still do that kind of, but in the marketing and agency setting. And in my free time, same podcast editor, as Michelle mentioned, I also have a podcast called Old Money. When I was in real estate development and, working with that big title and having the big salary and all of the perks that came along with it, I was broken, totally unhappy. And it took me a long time to figure out what it was that I was doing wrong with my money. I thought I was a smart girl. I thought I had everything going well for me. And yet I was constantly in credit card debt. So I made it my personal mission about 5 years ago to get fully educated and empowered about how to manage my money. And I finally got there, did that. And now I wanted to share that with everyone else.
Oh, yeah. And I am so into this whole topic and into everything that you share. Obviously, I was just telling you, I binged the Financial Feminist book by Tori Dunlap, who's like also a big mover and shaker in your space. But talk to us about your Old Money podcast. Like, where does Old Money scratch the itch for you? And the mission, maybe contrary to what the title is, of like what it means to kind of exhibit this lifestyle in a 2025 context.
Yeah. So Old Money is really just my cheeky way of making a joke that we're all trying to, live with the silver spoon. We all want like a Saltburn life where we don't have to work. We just wake up and go to Pilates and get our matcha lattes. And the reality is, number one, that's not very fun. That's not very challenging. That's not very exciting of a life to lead. Even if we're all burnt out from work, it's like the people that we become while we are pursuing wealth is what makes the journey worthwhile. And so Old Money is really tongue in cheek to being like, listen, I know we all want to live really well. P.S. I'm so against like restriction and being super like skipping your lattes. Like that's just not my mentality. Like I work very, very hard. I want to enjoy my life. Like that's why we're doing this. So how do you strike that balance of living within means, but making those means really good? So Old Money is really just an exploration into, number one, how do we make that balance? Number two, can we get excited and empowered around making money, like really owning that as women, we need to start businesses. We need to invest. We need to do these things. Like if we're going to dismantle the patriarchy, you cannot do that from the couch. You need to get up and work. And Kim Kardashian said it so well. Like sometimes it feels like nobody wants to get up and work these days. But like through building my business, through building my podcast, like I have become the woman that I've always wanted to be. If I was just handed something it wouldn't be that way. And in
Mhm.
addition to that, there's also so many things out there that are gate kept, like how the wealthy are really managing their finances, their families, how they partner with people in a marriage, like what it means to be in a prenup or do a prenup.
Mhm.
All these things, we need to democratize the information. And for me, I'm not big about listening to, NPR or something that's really dry. So my podcast is like everything's related back to like a Bravo Real Housewives analogy to like make it make sense.
I love that. Oh my gosh, yes. And also, I have 500 thoughts that just went through my head as you were saying all this thing. First of
Obsessed.
all, yes to all of it. I tell my team constantly, we don't work this hard just to work this hard. Like we
Yeah.
work this hard because it affords us a lifestyle that makes us feel like good people and lets us allows us to do the things that are important to us and make an impact. So that's
Yes.
the first thought. The second thought is there's a reason why women have not been educated about money until
Hmm.
recent times. Like, what
Yeah.
is it, 1987? You couldn't get a credit card in your own name. Like, the late 70s that you could actually like get a loan or open a
Hmm.
bank account. Like,
Hmm.
talk about the progress and maybe talk about was money and earning money always a conversation in your family, in your upbringing, in your life? Or was it something that you just kind of felt like in the dark on? Because I've had this exact feeling where I'm like, I'm a smart person.
Hmm.
Am I struggling with this? Why am I
Yeah.
hitting my head against this wall? And why don't I have a 401k? And why don't I have and I'm like, I'm self-employed. Where in the hell would I have learned this otherwise? I've never had a big girl job. Do you know
A
what I
hundred
mean? Like,
percent.
so I'm on that journey personally as well, but I'm
Yeah.
curious how much of your background led you to this point.
100%. I had two very accomplished, successful parents who both tried their best to teach me about money, but didn't do the best job. Just like we have to make peace with all the
Mm.
other things our parents did to send us to therapy. It's like they tried their best, but like, what did they know? So, just to give you an example, like when I was a kid, my dad was like, let's teach you about investing. Here's how to pick a company. Now, that is literally the worst advice you could give someone to pick a company. And of course,
Yeah.
I was a kid. I liked The Little Mermaid. I picked Disney stock and I have all this investment in Disney stock and I held it forever and ever and ever. That investment in Disney stock over the past, I don't know, 15 years has basically not grown. If that
Yeah.
would have been put into an ETF, into an index fund, into the S&P 500, holy cow, I'd be so much more wealthy. So again, best of intentions didn't really pan out. And so that's what my dad did for his investing strategy. It's fine. And I was really grateful to even have the
The
exposure
conversation.
because yeah, that makes you a little bit more comfortable. But in going through what I've been researching and trying to understand about money is that it's not just about investing or setting up a 401k or a TD Ameritrade account. It's about all the things that I learned from my parents on accident. Like we talk a lot about generational wealth and we think about that in terms of giving somebody a trust fund. But the generational wealth or poverty that our parents give to us is in the form of their habits, their beliefs, their mindsets. And that's one of the things I'm really focused on with the women who are part of the old money community is like, if we're going to create generational wealth, it's not just about giving your inheritance to your kids. It's about teaching them healthier habits and
Mhm.
fixing and cleaning up your own mindset now so that they have a better mindset. Because here's what I learned from my parents. I learned that work sucked, never wanted to go to work. Work was hard. Getting money was hard. Keeping money was hard. Saving money was hard. Everything around money was hard. So
Mm.
how has it been for me in my life? It's been so
Mhm.
fucking hard. It's been so hard
Mhm.
until I recognize, like, oh, that isn't true for everyone. Let me find a different person to model that after who doesn't feel like it's hard to make money. Let me see what they're doing. And so just we're exposed to what we're exposed to. It's not our fault. It's not our parents' faults either.
Yeah, literally. And it's also, we're now in an age of there's so much more information to be had. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? We're at
Yeah.
this where there is that democratization. First of all, us even having the conversation about this is something that, like, my grandmother, who's felt like her career choices were to be a nurse or to be a
Yes.
nun,
Yeah.
the fact that we are even talking like this is
Mhm.
already in just 2 generations, like, kind of
Yeah.
mind blowing. So, like, acknowledging where we came from, the context in which, everything exists.
Yes.
We love context, but also, like, having the conversations and realizing, like, the information is there. So how do we bridge this gap between where we're at, where we feel stuck, and the information?
Mhm.
Obviously, your podcast is a good resource, but before you
Mhm.
started the podcast, where did you go to kind of, like, break break your brain a little bit of like, okay, I feel like this could go differently.
Yeah. So the thing is, and this is true for any topic, it could be for starting a business, for getting fit, for changing your financial situation. Information is out there, but execution is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
So finding a way to take those baby steps into getting yourself a little bit more dangerous in whatever topic it is you're trying to, learn about or master. And for me, it actually started, I like to call it from the underground because I was
Mm,
so deeply in debt that I was underground. Like I was not building
mhm.
any wealth. I was not doing anything good for myself. I was not investing in assets. And so I was like, at that point where I was like, I cannot keep doing this cycle anymore. And I wish I knew the person who coined this. I heard it on TikTok once so long ago. Somebody had said, people are not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. They're living from unnecessary vacation to pet emergency. And
Mm,
how true
mhm,
is that, right? And so I
mhm,
needed to break that cycle, but I had a spending problem. So my
mhm.
baby steps, and I'm not taking the Dave Ramsey baby steps, I just mean like the first easy things that I was trying to do for myself was like stop the bleeding. So for me, what I did was I literally like deleted all of the autofill on Google. This was before
Yep.
Apple Pay. So like, delete Apple Pay, make it a little bit more frictionful for you to have to get your credit card out or pay, going to cash instead of using a credit card. In fact, I was so swipe happy that what I did, I needed to, number one, call my bank and lie that I lost my credit cards because I had my 16-digit credit card number memorized. Like
Memorize. Oh
I
my
was a
gosh.
freak. So I had to get
Yeah.
new credit cards and then I put them in a Ziploc baggie, filled it with water, and put it in the
Froze them.
freezer. I froze my credit. I
Uh,
energetically froze it, like physically froze it.
physically
I had to start creating these like tripwires or these
roadblocks.
like,
Yeah.
yes, like these things that would slow me down. So I wouldn't just be like, oh, need to go work at a coffee shop. Oh, need to go do this. Right. And it was through that exercise of like really getting conscious with my money, like conscious with what was coming in, what was going out. And this was right when I was starting my business. And I was like, if I ever want to hire people, I need to
Yeah.
figure out how to make sure I have $100,000 in the bank. So if something goes wrong, people's salaries will get paid.
Yes.
And I put myself through a boot camp. And that's why I created my programs with old money too, because I now have that boot camp for my rich girls, right? Like these are the things that I did. This is how I stopped overspending. This is the first step I took to, of understanding the damage that was done and then going to figure out like the details that I needed to know and what are the money dates that I need to have and all of those different things. So it's been a journey. But what I've realized is like the more money I make, the more grateful I am for all the times that I struggled because those were the reps in the gym that I needed to
Yes.
build the
Yes.
muscles.
Yes. Yes.
So if anyone out there is like, I'm not making enough, this is hard, you are building the resilience now.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Similar, 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 similar. Tori in her book also talks about keeping just like a money diary of like
Mhm.
writing down everything that you're spending on. But I want to
Yeah.
talk about the spending and overspending feeling because I think it's also not to be victimy at all about it, but we are a product of our environment in that
Mhm.
what we see online is $400 Pilates memberships, is
Mhm.
everyday matcha lattes, is
Mhm.
a new workout set that you have to have, and the new shoes, and the new bag, and the new headphones, and the like. Talk about this like culture of consumerism and how that puts us on this like evil hamster wheel in a lot of ways. Because I
Yeah.
know that that's where I felt in the times that I'm most insecure is when I'm spending the most. Is when I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I have this is going to make me feel better. This is going to give me that quick hit. I'm going to book this trip. I'm going to go to this
Mhm.
really fancy restaurant because I fucking can. And it's just
Mhm.
kind of I do it as a fuck you, realizing like the only person I'm screwing over is myself.
100%. Yeah. One of the things that I explore a lot on the show is this idea of wealth, right? Like, what does it mean to be wealthy? It really means to like have a state of well-being. And a lot of the things that we are purchasing is to chase a feeling that we think wealth or these things will bring us. Like we buy things and experiences that we believe are going to make us feel a certain way. And
Mhm.
there's a really, I mean, we're marketers. This is what I do all
Yes,
day
we
long.
sell stuff all day long. We're the first two to
Literally,
say it. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Like we do email marketing. And the first thing I tell my rich girls to do, if you are having a problem with overspending, go unsubscribe to
Unsubscribe.
everything. Block the influencers lovingly. We love you. We love a girl who hustles, but it's not for me right now.
Yes.
And I think that's the big thing is that there's this, and it's getting really muddy, even more so now when you see these like college age or younger creators that are like, look at my bags, look at my this, look at my that. And one of the things that I've done is I've identified a bunch of different shopping profiles or spending profiles and just been like neutrally without judging ourselves, which of these spending profiles do you fall into? Like one of them is a convenience spender. Like you're the
Mhm.
person who's like booked and busy. Oh, I need DoorDash. I didn't have time to go to the
Mhm.
grocery store. I'm going to just pay extra for this. Yeah,
Amazon
do the
Prime.
valet. 100%. Like
Uh-huh.
if that is your spending profile, like be aware of it. And then
Mhm.
how are we going to create these roadblocks, these traps? I call them booby traps. Like how are we going to create
Mhm.
these things to interrupt that pattern so that we can just become aware of it and observe it neutrally? Maybe you're an ego or identity buyer. Like you're the type
Mhm.
of person who buys things to show to others or to show to yourself who you are. I'm the
Mhm.
trendy yoga girl who always has the cutest set from Set Active every time they drop something every 5 days.
Mhm.
Okay, that's totally great. That's neutral. I love that you're a yoga girly. Love that you're a Pilates girly. If you want to be a financial girly, you make different decisions. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
or you rig your life to allow you if that's the thing that's truly your no guilt spending category, or like
Hmm.
Ramit Sethi says, like, "This is your version of a rich life. My version is a
Yep.
rich life that every time Set Active drops a new set, I get it because
Yep.
that brings me joy." Then
Hmm.
where are you gonna rig the other areas in your life to support you to allow you to do that? Like, we're not here to say
100%.
that you can or cannot do anything, but I think that's part of the financial education. There's so much shame, especially around female spending. There's
Hmm.
so much shame embedded in things that are frivolous. And I mean, millennials, we got told for like an entire decade that the reason we couldn't afford a house is because of avocado toast. Like,
Right. Oh my God.
it's insane. So it's like breaking that too and just looking like you're saying at everything neutrally, saying like, okay, if this is the type of spender that I know that I am, like
Mhm.
I don't give a fuck about clothes. I don't give a fuck about a lot of like shoes,
Yeah.
bags, but I will ball out on travel. Like I
100%.
will, if I'm gonna go halfway around the world, I'm gonna eat at the best restaurant. That is important to
Yeah.
me. Like everyone in my life knows that that's important to me. So it's like figuring
100%.
out what's the thing that makes you tick. So you have more shopping profiles, or was it really just those
Yeah,
main two?
those are 2 of them. I think I
Mm,
have 6, but I think one of the other things too that's even more important is that, I've also had a really hard time with a lot of these financial influencers because none of them have really, like, spoken to me in the right way, right? Like, take a
mm,
little from Dave Ramsey, a little from Ramit, a little from this, a little from that, and, like, make your own
mhm.
soup, and that's what I encourage everybody to do. Nobody has all of the answers. But one of the things that I've been seeing also, and it has been a big lesson for me as well, is, like, really owning our choices or
Yeah.
fully, wholeheartedly. Because what I see a lot of people talking about is like, well, what are your fixed expenses? Those are your fixed expenses. Well, Michelle, you and I decide every day to live in one of the most expensive cities in the world.
True that. Yep.
So that is a decision that I own. Like if I
Mhm,
want to own a 45,000 square foot house, I can do that today, but not in San Diego with what I'm making. That's the
mm-mm,
choice. I don't want a 45,000 square foot home. I hate to clean. I
mhm,
rather live in the best place, in my opinion, in the world, in
mhm,
a smaller place because that's what my choice is. And so I
mhm,
feel like a lot of people have this fixed mindset around, well, that's my mortgage, that's my car payment, that's, what it costs. And it's about being absolutely ruthlessly
honest.
ruthless about and owning all of
Yeah.
those choices instead of being like, I'm a victim of my circumstances. I have to live closer to work. You can get a new job. And I
Mhm,
think I think that sounds flippant, but that has given me so much more opportunity to be like, what else can I do versus I'm stuck here. And that's one of
mhm,
the things that's been huge for me in this
mhm.
process of like, if I'm going to have an entrepreneurial mindset, not meaning like I'm going to start another business, I don't need more to do.
No, same.
But but just like, I mean, and the mindset of like looking for opportunities, like where
Yeah.
can I adjust? Where can I change? What do I really want? And then how do I design my life so I can get everything that I want?
Exactly. And I think you can't know that until you know what you want. So you also have to be honest with yourself. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, do I want to have an agency with 100 employees? When I was
Hmm.
23, I was like, I'm going to dominate the world and build an empire. Like because we were a victim of girl boss culture and that's
Yes.
what I thought you were supposed to do. That to me was like that's where I'm ascending to. I'm ascending to this idea that having this huge ass company and working on multi-million dollar brands is what I wanted. No.
Couldn't agree with
Like
you more. We're so aligned
no,
on that. Small team, small
no,
client list.
small team, good and making real tangible impact. And when you're conscious of what you
Mhm.
consume, not only money, but literature, podcasts, music, community, conversations, all of that is an input that is going to dictate your output. So if
So
I'm
true.
bringing in good energy and good people and good opportunities to myself, that
Mhm.
allows me to go then do that for other things. You cannot
Mhm.
pour from an empty cup. And like we hear this 500,000 million times, but the one time that it sinks in, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
1000%.
oh, I get it
You
now.
you know what? This just came up and I'm so like that is such a good segue too because I wanna talk about like kind of not what's going on in the
Yeah.
world because like,
You
oh, it's
please.
bleak.
No, I
But
would love to. Yeah.
you know what I mean? One of the things we were talking about at the beginning of January when the LA fires were happening, I really got on my soapbox because I'm big and again, I'm a Real Housewives fan, but any disaster relief, I'm like, I'm not being affected. Where can I
Yes.
put some
Same.
resources?
Same.
And so as women, if we give away our power around earning more, being wealthy, we make less of an impact when the world needs us. And
Mhm.
we have a duty to not only have the resources financially, but like you said, pouring from an empty cup. If I sit on TikTok and scroll all of these horrible videos over and over and over again, what does
And
that
I'm
do
not
to my
moved to do
energy?
something? Yes,
Yeah.
and you're not
It
moved immediately to I was crying about I was also PMSing like a mofo, but I was
the
like,
worst.
waking up, watching these videos of, like of this man who owned this Mexican restaurant in the Palisades, and he was telling the news reporter about how he brought back hats for his best customers from Oaxaca that said, "With
Ugh.
love from Oaxaca," because his restaurant was funding his family that was still in Mexico, and he brought it to his 2 best customer names Ben and James. Tell me those aren't the 2 most, like, surfer bro dudes in the Palisades that probably eat a California burrito every single day of their life, and he took a picture with them, and he said, "I didn't know this was gonna be the last picture in my restaurant." And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
how are you not how can you see something like that? And, like, granted, we are inundated with information. I don't think anyone's brain is
Mhm.
supposed to have this much information, but what
Right.
happened in LA is not atypical that what could happen right here in San Diego. If a fire
Mhm.
starts in Rancho Santa Fe and blows west, guess what? My whole
Mhm.
neighborhood, my whole community is gone.
Yeah. And
This is not far.
it's one of those things where I don't wanna say you have to, like, keep your head on a swivel, but it's
Yeah.
like as important it is to have the resources and be able to give back when necessary, we have to use the resources of our energy, our optimism, our can-do entrepreneurial spirits to get out there and help, to continue to build, to be able to hold the vibration of the world at a higher place and be supportive and be a positive place for people to
Mhm.
come back to, right? And I think that all ties into, like, are you taking care of the most important element of your worth, which is your self-worth? Like,
Yourself. Yourself.
what are you investing into in yourself to, like you said, not pour from an empty cup?
I've been hearing it floating around in a lot of places. It's that we can give our time, our treasure, or our talent.
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
time, treasure,
Beautiful.
and talent of okay, so you don't have time, do you have treasure and talent? You don't have treasure,
Beautiful.
you have time and talent. Like, you can
Yeah.
kind of make this combination, and that was the first thing that popped in my mind. I was, like, watching all this footage. I've been going to the same CrossFit gym for, like, almost a year now. Love my little community there. Noticing how many people come in and out of that place. I'm like,
Mm,
"This would be a great place for a clothing drive." Texted the owner
mm.
of a gym on a Wednesday night. I was like, "Hey, listen, in the 2008 fires, my family, like, helped put on this clothing drive. I think we could do this." We got
Love it.
500 bags worth of
It's
donations.
incredible. It's
And I was
incredible.
like, "Holy moly." And this was something that, again, just took some time, and it took a
Mhm,
little bit of talent putting together a Canva graphic. But I think that to your point, like, it goes back to the, like, if we want to see things change,
mhm,
entrepreneurship is, like, inherently political, and I believe that, like, 100%.
mhm,
The choices
mhm.
that you make, who you hire, how you conduct yourself in business, the type of businesses that you uplift, da, da, da. If you wanna actually affect change, it has to start with yourself and with getting yourself into a mental place to be able to, like we said, not pour
100%.
from an empty cup.
Yeah, 100%.
You all know how much I love a bragworthy brand. And when it comes to creating stickers and labels that elevate your branding, Sticker Giant is the brand that you can trust. Whether you're looking to create something for your next launch, elevate your brand, or add a little extra flair to your packaging, Sticker Giant's custom stickers and labels help you get your brand noticed in all the right ways. They've got a dedicated team handling every single detail, so you can count on Sticker Giant to bring your designs to life just the way that you imagined. If you're ready to give your brand an extra boost, go to stickergiant.com and use code KMA podcast for 15% off your order. Sticker Giant, your partner in the sticker and label business. Ay, ay, ay. The world is a crazy place. How have you been faring in the first
You
month of the
know,
new year?
Yeah, thank you for asking, and I know we talked about this before we started recording too. I've really been in this interesting journey of, I feel like it's really been kind of villainized to not be up to date on every single thing that's happening in the news
Mm.
all the time. But I'm gonna tell you a story. First big vacation I ever went on with my now fiance, we went to Mexico for a week. It was the most beautiful, epic. We've gone back to this hotel so many times. Actually, we're getting married there,
I
and
love
like
that.
it's our place. And this particular week, I think it was 2021. It was the week that, okay, let me just like frame this for you. This is the first
Mhm.
great vacation I go on with my fiance. For me, the memory of what this week was it was the week that the Taliban took over
Oh my
Afghanistan.
god. Oh my
Because
god.
on vacation, I could not stop reading, watching. Remember those
Yes.
images of the people trying to jump on the plane at the airport to
Yes.
like get it? I was
In Kabul.
destroyed the
Okay,
entire week.
same
Yes.
week, I was on a bachelorette party in Denver, Colorado, watching Louis the Child drunk with my friends, and I get a text that my cousin is in Kabul as
Oh
it's
my
falling
God,
because
Michelle.
he's a Marine. So same, and I'm like, "How can both of these realities exist at the same time?" So you're in Mexico, I'm
Yep.
in Denver at Red Rocks,
Uh-huh.
and my cousin is pulling people through fences that are trying to get on the plane. What the hell? Continue.
Yes, I mean, that is the dichotomy of life, right? Of, like, just, like, all the things
Uh-huh.
are happening at once, and my boyfriend sat me down and he said, "I love that you have such a big heart, but you're ruining our vacation." And I was like, "No, you're totally right." Like,
Right.
I was, like, scrolling so doom scrolling, like, to the 10th degree. I have too much of like, I get too involved in it. So I have the same way that I, stopped with my spending, there's tripwires. I don't have news
Yes.
apps on my phone. I do not turn on the
Yes.
news in my house. It is not good for my nervous system. I'm curating my feed so that I'm not being inundated. I check in once a day in the morning with my coffee. That's when I can maintain it. And then
Mhm.
I need to go about my day because it's more important for me to protect my energy. And it doesn't mean I'm uninformed. It just means that I'm
Mhm.
not following a Twitter feed. I'm very
Mhm.
informed.
Mhm.
But it doesn't do me any good to like play into it. And we know there's so much media manipulation out there that I'm like, I don't even trust anything. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
unless it's on Reddit and it's a firsthand account. I don't even
Yeah.
trust anything. So it's not worth my time to do this roller coaster of media. And so my practices in the last, let's call it 90 days, I've been so not only intentional about like what I'm consuming, like you were saying, but just my self care. I'm working out super consistently. I'm eating super clean. I've been going to hypnosis. I'm obsessed with
Mm.
hypnosis. I mean, just what can I do to take care of myself? And my mood has been so much more stable. I am like a full PMS queen the week
Mhm.
before my cycle. I've been more stable. My business has been doing better than ever. My
Mhm.
team is better than ever. We're growing and things just feel easy.
Mhm. And I think maybe this is like the coming into yourself, like, it's when you feel your frontal what is it? Your frontal lobe developing.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, wait," like you're saying, but, like, it's we so quickly fall into these, like, binge purge or, like, addictive, depressive, like, there's so much
Yeah.
of that in our culture, and this also, like, was very true for me when I was a bachelorette in a wedding, and I was the only one of 12 bridesmaids that, like, wasn't on an SSRI. And I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy to me that, like, we're all
Yeah.
trying to time not to knock meds, like, people definitely like, if you need medication, take it, like, I'm not that's not what I'm saying, but
Of
I think
course.
as a again, as a culture, like, this over-consumerism or over-informed or over like, there aren't guardrails unless you make them. Like,
That's
if
right.
you're just bowling all day long and you're terrible at bowling and you don't put those little gutter guards on, like, put the guards on. Like, stop,
Yes.
wear your seatbelt, like, take care of yourself first because if you can't, like, that does have a trickle down, and especially when you own a company, and especially when you're
Mhm.
responsible for other people's salaries.
Yeah.
Me overworking myself doesn't help my team. Me
No.
not prioritizing my mental health or my workout or what I need to do to be a better boss doesn't
Yeah.
help them. And I fell into that trap last year so hard where I was up till midnight every night trying to make like we quit a huge contract. Oh my gosh, I've got to find all this new business. I'm just going to work until I bleed. And
Mhm.
that isn't sustainable. And then you get
Yeah.
the breakdown and that begets a whole bunch of other problems. So it's crazy. It's like sounds, and I know we sound like broken records, and anyone that's listening to any kind of self help podcast hosted by any
Mhm.
millennial is like,
Yeah, literally.
knows that this is the deal. But again, it's like, it's sometimes it's just the repetition of that message until it clicks. And then it's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it's like I was sitting in the dark and someone turned the light bulb on.
100%. And it's one of those things for me, like, I look back at some of the bosses that I had that were inconsistent, or you never knew who you were going to get when they walked in the office.
Mm,
And who knows what's going on with those people, right? But like, I can't make an excuse of like, oh, I'm in a bad mood because I'm so upset about all the things that are happening in the world. Like, I decide my ecosystem, I decide what comes in,
mhm.
I decide my energy. That's taken me a lot of practice. And if that's my frontal lobe developing, I'm so here for it. But just like calming down my emotional reactions to everything has been the biggest lesson and the biggest ROI on anything I've ever done with personal development.
Mhm. Okay, well, tell me about hypnosis, because then I'll tell you about
Oh
neurofeedback,
my
because I think
God.
they're sisters
Yes.
of each other.
Yeah, I'm about to have, first of all, anybody who's out there, if you're a high performer, go follow her on Instagram. Her name is Julia Balto. I think that's just her handle. She's my hypnotherapist. I've referred probably 100 people to her. Like everybody
Wow.
that will listen to me in the street, I'm like, go to hypnosis. We're gonna have her on the podcast on Old Money soon so that she can break down the science behind it. Cause I'm
Cool.
like, how is this working? Like all I do is, here's the thing. Speaking of like we talked about my parents telling me that everything is
Uh-huh.
hard, like getting money is hard, succeeding is hard, all these things. This is the easiest shit I've ever done. Like going to talk therapy, I'm in a puddle of tears the whole
Yes.
time. This one, I
Yes.
lay on the ground and I wake up and I feel better. Make it make
Wow.
sense. So we started with just kind of like I was interested in exploring it. Like, I'm things are going well. Like, how could they be better? Like, and
Yeah.
then she's really good at being super thoughtful of kind of teasing out some maybe beliefs that you have or beliefs that you want to have, and then really reprogramming it into your subconscious. And when I was in high school, we did this thing on our grad night called Sober
So did
Grad Night.
we.
Did you do
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
They like lock you up
In
somewhere
Sorrento
and they're like,
Valley.
don't leave.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. We did ours at a country club in my hometown, and
So
they literally
funny.
made us stay there all night long. It was
Uh-huh.
so boring and miserable,
But
but
there's a
it
hypnosis thing.
there was a hypnotist there, yeah, and that hypnotist everybody's, like, leaving, we're done, it's high school, whatever, we just graduated. This kid, I will never forget, she had him quacking like a duck and laying an egg, and this was a kid
Mhm.
that literally I never had spoken to in my entire life, who was, like, very reserved, very stoic, and he was, like, literally laying an egg on stage. I'm like, "What is hypnosis?"
Happening. Yeah, what's going on
That's
here?
not what's happening with me. I'm not laying any eggs, nothing crazy is happening, but it honestly is it feels like incredibly deep reprogramming meditations that are super customized and tailored to exactly what I'm working on in the moment. And the ease that I've been expressing, that I've been feeling, which, one of the things that we've been working on too is like this interesting, it feels almost like inappropriate to be
Sure.
joyful or happy or successful
Yes.
in light of
Yes.
everything that's going on
Yes.
in the world. And
Yes.
that's where that reprogramming is coming, is like, it's my responsibility and my
Yes.
duty to
Because
bring the
joy is a
joy
form
to,
of rebellion.
yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so all these little things, like everything's just kind of flowing a little bit easier. And I have done a lot of talk therapy in my life,
Mhm.
and it feels like it's integrating it all. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Interesting. Yeah.
in talk therapy, you do a lot of exploration, and like, we're all smart people. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, yeah, I see what I'm doing here. And that's my childhood trauma. And that's where this has come from. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you do with that information? Like, how do you change it?
Right.
This process is changing it for me.
Okay, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, because
Okay.
I
So,
had a similar kind of thing with therapy and trying to figure it out. I'm very fortunate and very privileged in that I have a lot of people I can talk to.
uh-huh.
I think talk therapy is wonderful for people who don't have supportive systems in their life. They don't. I talk to my sister on the phone every day for an hour. Like, might be codependency, but that's another topic. Um, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm very comfortable talking about how I feel about things. And I struggled so
Mhm.
much with the therapist to be like, okay, but now what, like, now what though? Like, I want it to
Yeah.
be different. So, like, what can you give me? I asked her to give me homework and she was like, I think you're
Yes.
good. And I was like, no.
See, we literally, isn't it so great how everything that we're talking about is the same no matter what the subject is?
Hmm.
Information's great. Okay, we've got the information. What's the execution piece? Like, how do I go
Hmm.
about changing this for meaningful growth in my life? Because, like,
Hmm.
I don't need to, like, now I just like kiki with my therapist. I'm like, guess what
Love
happened
it.
this week? Like,
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
gossip.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not goss. So, yeah. So tell me about, what did you say?
Yes,
Neurofeedback?
neurofeedback. Okay, so
Tell me
similar
everything.
vein. Dr. Kakaya, who I'm also going to try to have on the podcast, she's wonderful. But basically, the premise is that your brain, like every other muscle in your body, you can overcompensate by using one part of your brain, which will deregulate the other part of your brain. So my executive functioning last year, when I was overwhelmed, underslept, trying to work too hard, like not balanced at all, not taking care of myself at all, was that my hyperactivity was over indexing the part of the brain that was, and I'm pointing to the back of my head because the back is
Mhm.
your like T3, whatever, which tells
Mhm.
you, okay, it's time to go to bed now. Like the self-regulation.
Interesting.
So the self-regulation
Interesting.
muscle of my brain was atrophied and the other part of the brain was taking over to the point where
Wow.
I couldn't balance them anymore on my own. Where meant to be. Hey.
Yeah.
So what it does, neurofeedback, is you wear a headband thing and you have these electrodes on your brain and it's not putting anything in your brain. It's just measuring the electrical activity of the neurons that are firing in your brain.
Mhm.
And then you're looking at a screen and on the screen there's a hovercraft and it will move when you activate the part of your brain that's been weakened. So
What?
the only way I could get the hovercraft to move is if I relax. If I started thinking about lunch or I started thinking about emails or I started thinking about I got to get this social post done or I got this project tomorrow, da da da, what's my dog, da da da, it will go and it'll shut down. So
Oh my god, that's fascinating.
the only way to get it to go through the puzzle, because you gotta like navigate it through this like maze, is she's like, breathe. And I was like, and all of a sudden, and it starts going.
And it goes
You do
because
this,
when you relax, it's like
the
you're activating
electrical
or
activity in the
is
part of the
measuring.
brain
Okay.
that's focus, that's the low theta wave. That's not the high alpha wave of your brain activity. It's low theta electricity. I needed to strengthen that muscle. So
Oh
I
my
went
god.
in for 30 sessions of this. And once you get through the games, you get to like graduate to movies, which is better. But you get to watch the movie. But if you start to drift your focus, the movie gets small, black and white, and it goes quiet. You must, in order to watch the thing and train the brain, you have to pay attention to the thing that you're looking at and you cannot be distracted anywhere else. The way that I would go home from these sessions exhausted,
Really?
starving,
Wow.
hungry, needing so much water, taking a nap, to the point where I got to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Just like reps in the gym. Just like the first time you go in to do push-ups and you're like, oh my God, I got to do these from my knees and I'm going to like sweat after 2. Like, okay,
Yeah.
now I can do 5. Cool. From my toes. Awesome. Like that's what you're going for. So
Okay, and what's your life like now today versus last year?
so much more calm and
Really?
so much more regular. Like I don't have these crazy high highs and crazy low lows and crazy high highs and crazy low lows. Also, it makes you think twice about the stimulants and the depressants in your life.
100. Yeah.
Like, I loved coffee. I was like, "I love coffee. I can have, like, 3 espressos, no problem in the morning, like, straight thing on an empty stomach, skip breakfast, I'm just gonna have coffee." And then that impacts the speed of my speech, that
Yeah.
impacts the clarity of my ideas, people weren't understanding me, it was causing chaos, it was causing
Yeah.
me to be super hungry, so I'm eating a ton of stuff at lunch, and then I'm crashing after lunch because 'cause I'm exhausted because now my body's like, "Oh my god, we gotta process all this food." It just, like more regulation. So now, like, I have a morning routine that I stick to. Everyone knows morning routines are important. I was like, "Oh, not for me." Like, I'm a creative, like like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing that, this, like, prescriptive, boring routine. No, non-negotiable morning routine, non-negotiable evening routine, wind down. I was like, "Oh, no, I'm just gonna work. I don't watch shows." No, I need a show. Like,
Yeah.
I need
100.
I need an entertainment that allows me to turn my brain off because I've gotta
100%.
ease myself off my day. I can't just go straight from, like, firing on all cylinders to try to lay in bed and be like a zombie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It did, I think, to your point, like, help rewire those connections in my brain. Fascinating stuff. As you've heard me say time and time again on this podcast, what worked in 2024 for social media management is not the same as what's going to cut it in 2025. Platforms are shifting, algorithms are chaotic, and keeping up feels like playing whack-a-mole in the wild, wild west. That's exactly why we made our 2025 social media webinar. This is the deck that we actually sent to our clients. It's 65 slides long. And in the 45-minute webinar, I basically walk you through all the platforms, who owns them, their involvement with the current political administration, what are the pros and cons of each platform, what content performs best, as well as what our team would need for strategy, content creation, and posting and engagement to run the strategy on behalf of your brand. So whether you're a small business owner looking to work with us, or you're also a social media manager or creative just trying to get a better grip of the social media landscape, this is a resource you're going to want to take advantage of. You want to head to our website, mkwcreativeco.com/resources. So mkwcreative.co/resources. This is the 2025 social media webinar. And just for you, I included the one-pager reference guide that we've also sent to our clients to really give you the full menu of options in one big flash sheet. So take advantage of it or hit the link in the show notes to get access to our 2025 social media webinar, because it is wild out there and you shouldn't have to figure it out by yourself. Good luck. Enjoy.
Okay, so let me be Lauren Bostic for 1 second. Can you tell
Sure.
us about your morning routine, like all the
Oh my
details?
God. Sure. Yes. Which I'm curious what you think about Lauren Bostic because I finally unfollowed her the other day, and yeah, I would love to
I have a
hear
lot of
your
thoughts.
take.
Yeah.
A lot of
Mhm.
thoughts. Morning routine. The thing with routines and the thing that I feel like of making change in your life, I think you'll agree, it's incremental
Uh-huh.
and it takes time to do it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So it's like layering things in. So now, as of this year, I set some new routines for myself, which is like get up. If I am going to scroll social media, similar to you, like with the news, then I got to wake up early to do it, which is a
Mhm.
resistance thing. It's like,
Mhm.
do I really want 20 minutes on TikTok or do I want to sleep? It's like, I pretty
Yeah.
much want to sleep. Some days I'm like, yeah, no, okay, it's 5:45. Yeah, I want to scroll TikTok. So like I'll scroll TikTok. So it's a little bit of that in the morning. Then my sister calls me. She's 2 hours ahead of me 'cause she's in Texas. She calls me
Mhm.
when she heads out for her dog walk, which is 9 a.m. So for me, it's 7 a.m. I'm like, well, if I already have my headphones on, I might as well put on my shoes and take my dog for a walk. Then it's walk.
Yep.
First thing out the door, dog walk, an
Yep.
hour.
Yep.
Come
Mhm.
back, water, huge water. Water
Mhm.
before coffee is a 2025 habit, which I'm very grateful I'm sticking to.
Yes.
As I'm drinking my water, journaling, another thing that I've always wanted to do and like never had any consistency with. But the
Yeah.
hack, which you'll appreciate, is I gave ChatGPT my like birth chart, strengths assessment, personality test, etc., and my dream life. And so I asked ChatGPT in the morning, write me a journal prompt based on my horoscope today that addresses my limiting beliefs and moves me towards my dream life.
Oh, shut up. I'm obsessed with that. That is so great. I
And
love
sometimes
that.
they're bad and sometimes they're good. And so if
Yeah.
anything, it just like jogs me to like get
Mhm.
going. If I don't feel like just like recapping my day in a journal, which sometimes feels dumb, but some of the things that
Mhm.
it's prompted have been really great. Journal
Mhm.
after journal, then coffee, full breakfast. I love like
Mhm.
big omelet, healthy, the whole thing, my protein coffee, and then I can get into work. But it's
I love
it's
that.
it's about carving out that first 2 hours of the day. I'm not
Yeah.
touching an email. I'm not touching Basecamp. Like get your head on straight first. Put on
Mhm.
your mask before you put it on others. That
Mhm.
helps. What about you?
Mine is similar in the fact that the only thing that matters and the one thing that I do every single day is my dog walk.
Yes.
And Poppy has been like the best medicine for me ever. And, I wake up, the first thing that I do is like I get on the floor with her, I like hold her sweet little face and I squish it and I tell her how much I love her and if she had a good night's sleep. And we just like connect. Like that is
Mhm.
my like what I roll out of bed onto the floor to do with her every morning. And that for me starts the day in such a loving, like
Mhm.
present way. And then I get up and I take her on a walk. And everything that I do, like habit stacking wise,
Same.
like
Yeah.
everything happens on the walk. So I talk to text in my phone all day long, but mostly on my morning walk to either journal or to brain dump things I have to do for work or work through marketing strategy. Like most of my
Mhm.
marketing strategies are written, talk to text while I'm walking in circles around Balboa Park. Like that's what I do. If I don't have anything to say, I have recordings of myself where I
Mm.
have previously written my dream life, dream day, or, a letter from my future self. And I recorded that just like on a voice note and I listen to that. That's what I do.
Mm.
And so I'm really big about the first inputs of my day can't be anybody else. So I used to be like, wake up, listen to the morning toast, or wake up or go listen to
Oh, another one we
Huberman.
have to asterisk. My
Yeah,
gosh.
exactly.
Ay, ay,
So
ay.
I've just recognized that I spend a lot of time putting other people's ideas in my head. So
Oh.
I'm very cautious about whose thoughts are in my head, especially first thing in the morning. So now they're only mine. And then,
Mm.
get home. Some days I eat breakfast, some days I don't. Some days I have, I just got back on my iced coffee with Coffee Mate. And I know the chemicals are killing me, Michelle. Like I know that, okay? But I just am so addicted. I tried to stop for literally 6 weeks and I reordered it last night. I'm like, I can't live without this shit. I fucking love it. It makes
Hey,
me
it's
look
your
forward to
rich
the
life.
morning. So like that's my rich life and it's a little bad for my liver, but I don't
It's all
care.
right.
So that's what I do.
Oh my gosh. No, and this is the thing is like it sounds I think I used to really think like read or listen to people's morning routines and be like, "Oh, this is the thing that's going to change my life." Like we're talking about. Let this be a testament to like we both are doing the freaking work here. Like you do the work and then you live the life because you did the work. Like there is a little bit of like an
Mhm.
earnedness here and just copy
Yeah.
pasting what the two of us are doing that's working for us onto your life probably won't work for you. Hate to say.
Yeah.
But
The same
I
way
mean take
like my
inspiration,
financial
right?
plan won't work for someone else. Yeah, you
Totally.
get inspiration
Totally.
100%.
Totally. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. Okay, because we're both pop culture girlies, we have to just like rapid fire pop culture because now we've talked about it.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, where do we even
Mhm.
start? Oh, we used to both be very avid listeners of the toast, and I have not been on that bandwagon for a while. Curious if you are. Are you still in Toastland?
Yes and no, but almost from like a sociological perspective of like I'm just trying to see what's
Mm.
going on. I'm just not interested in what the conversations are about anymore.
Yeah.
And I completely understand their privacy around their children and things like that, but it got to a point where I'm not getting anything about what's going on in their lives like day to day. So I don't know these people anymore. And
Uh-huh.
like Jackie never talked about her kids and I completely respect that decision, but it's just, audiences change, content creators change. The way that their content is moving is not what I'm interested anymore. So my time's limited. Like, where am I going to spend it?
Yep, agree. I felt that's
Mhm.
kind of how I felt with the Lauren Bostic Skinny Confidential conversation as well.
Mhm.
Is like, I don't know that what you have, the content that you have serves me anymore. And I think really just to bring this full circle to what we talked about, you can change who you follow.
Mhm.
Like we
100%.
forget that we
Yeah.
can unfollow people and just be like, actually, this isn't serving me right now. And that doesn't mean that it's bad,
Yeah.
but it's just like this isn't doing what it once did.
Yeah, and I think too, like I'm in. It's very impressive what they've built with Dear Media, and I think built something that's really fantastic, especially for the creators that work under them. But it came to my attention that a lot of the guests that they have on their podcast are paid to play, meaning
Yeah.
like they
Yes.
pay for a
Paid to be
spot
there.
to go.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so my biggest thing in especially this ties right back to money, right? I think one of the things that is out of control in the world right now is supplement marketing.
Mm,
Every single time you go onto social
yes.
media, it's take this colostrum, take this protein, make this thing, take this pill.
AG1,
And
ritual.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these things that are promising you to feel better, look better, whatever. And it's such a waste of money because the only supplements you should be taking should be based on your individual blood work, and your doctor should be giving you the information. That is how you improve your health. That is how you
Mm,
anti age. Like,
mhm.
and so when a lot of the conversation was supplement, 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 and like all these companies, it's like all these supplements are contradictory to one another. And why are all of these different companies on here? It's because they were all paying for placement.
Pay.
So
Mhm.
I think it's really important that as consumers, we are smart consumers and we know, Dear Media is a media company. We talk shit
And they're a
about Fox News and
for-profit
CNN.
business. Yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same reason why on every NFL commercial, it's a pharmaceutical company. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
we are subscribing to social media channels now that are like just tuning into a television channel of commercials. There's no
Completely.
Real Housewives, there's no Below Deck. It's just an hour-long commercial over and over and over again. Like, that's not what I want in my life. That doesn't make me feel more creative, it doesn't make me feel more good. So like I just decided to say no thank you.
Oh, and I would love us to get to the place like Europe where we don't allow for, medical and pharmaceutical advertisements in any of our media because,
Yeah.
hello, like you said, that's such a deeply personal, like, thing between you and your doctor, and what, you're gonna
Yeah.
go into your doctor's office and be like, "I saw this commercial, and now therefore I
Right.
want this drug." Like, no, no, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And I think supplements, in a weird way, what you just brought up, which we're gonna end up podcasting for 5 hours,
I'm good with that.
but but, to your point, I feel like supplements are to, like, consumerism what self-help gurus were for a really long
Mm.
time,
Yeah.
where it's really low promise on their side for insane results that are gonna be, if you fail, it's your fault.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
fail, if you don't listen to if I'm Tony Robbins and I'm telling you these things and this is how you're gonna turn your life around, but if you fail, it's your fault, I'm taking no responsibility for my protocol or my things, and I feel that supplements, because they're not FDA approved, they're not like, they don't go through all the rigorous testing again, it's so personal, like, it's
Mhm.
kind of like, "It increased energy and amazing stamina and all this thing and blah," and 90% of your daily vegetables in one serving, you're like, "'Kay, if it sounds too good to be true, it is." And
Mhm.
second of all, like, because you're assuming no responsibility on the back end if it doesn't work. And I feel it's like we're California girls, like through and through. This is our culture. Like
Yeah.
wellness culture is our culture. And I think it's so important to call that shit out when we see it and be like, yeah, no. And in both of our morning routines, I love that neither of us said that. It's not like, and then I take my hashtag this,
Yeah.
that, blah, 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 TM, registered this. Like, no, that's not real life. That's not
Yeah.
anyone's real life.
And I think what's so interesting too, Michelle, and one of the things I admire so much about you is that, like, first of all, I love when you go live and you're showing your design process and stuff.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you work. That's the thing is like, we get the privilege of living in these great places and having these great experiences and traveling the way that you do. Or, for me, like buying the things it is I want to buy or
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
because we work and not like we're working ourselves to death. We're not girl bossing ourselves
No.
too close to the sun, but we're out here making it happen. And so it's the same thing of that, like, I don't want to like knock people like, and generally speaking, but a lot of these like, I'm a 8-figure business owner, I'm a 7-figure business owner. Like, there's a lot of this, I don't know,
Showboating,
how do you say that? Showboating. That's better than romanticization.
romanticization.
That's a hard word for me.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
anyway, I
A
think
hard
it's
word in
one of those
general.
things of like, be a smart consumer. Like a lot of people,
Yes.
especially in my old money community, they're like, I want a side hustle, I want to do this. I'm like, ooh, that's actually really hard. Like, I'm not here to tell you you're gonna triple your net worth by side hustling on Etsy. Like, let's get really real about what's going on and what it takes to start a business. And that doesn't mean there's too many barriers to entry. I started with no
Right.
money, a laptop in my brain.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's about being a smart consumer.
Well, and we need to be smart consumers with everything, right? We need to be
Yes.
smart consumers on what we buy. We need to be smart consumers on what we ingest, whether that's food or information. We need to be smart
Hmm.
consumers on the media side. I think with the
Hmm.
canceling of fact checking and the rampant use of AI and the lack of media literacy that we have, that's going to be an impending and expoundingly unsolvable problem because it's moving faster than the speed of light. And I'm a huge proponent of AI. I love AI. Like I use ChatGPT. That was my plug in my morning routine is my ChatGPT. But hey, but you know what I mean. Like I think it's needed, and the only way to do it is like you're saying is to live it and to share it. And you're right. Like I like showing the work. I like showing
Hmm.
the process because it's just a different approach to business than I was seeing prior. And I think that
Yeah.
I want you to see the work that I put the effort into it. Why would I want to downsell it in a way? You know what I mean?
100%. I think it's just, it does such a good job of illustrating. I'm big about showing, not telling. Like, my thing that I always say, like, first of all, we work with a lot of quote unquote, you can't see me if you're listening on audio,
Mhm.
luxury brands. You
Mhm.
know how many apartment communities are luxury resort style living and the siding's literally falling off the wall? If you have to
Mhm.
tell someone you're luxury, or if I always say, if you have to tell someone you're funny, but you don't make them laugh, like you ain't
Uh-huh.
funny. And
Uh,
the intentionality, the dedication, the attention to detail, like your clients are seeing firsthand how you're going to take care of them. You don't have to tell them. Do you know what I'm
mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
I think that's just such a unique thing.
And there's a dose of humility in that. It's the like not even there it's both. It's like humility and it's also confidence. It's a humble confidence. It's coming from it's the Alona Mar clip. It's her saying, and I just said this on the last podcast too, so sorry if this is a repeat message. It's someone looking at her, it's the interviewer looking at her on CNN saying, "How do you deal with imposter syndrome?" She goes, "Oh, I don't have that. I straight up don't have it. I'm so not
Hmm.
even entertaining that as a possibility in my life because I've worked hard for everything that I have. I've been
Yeah.
posting every single day since Tokyo on my TikTok.
Hmm.
This was not an
Yeah.
overnight success. This was I posted a video
Yeah.
every single day since Tokyo. I worked really hard for what I've got and I've been able to create this community. And so why would I be
Hmm.
shy about being proud of the fact that I worked hard for what I have? And I was just like, that
100%.
just clicked for me. And my sister and I talked about it for so long on the phone. We're like, yes, why was that so refreshing to hear? Why does that feel
Yeah.
so atypical or so coming from a woman? Like it's crazy how much still that like patriarchy like lid on everything still feels like it's there.
Well, you know what? It's still like analogous to money for me because I think about money in context of everything. But it's
Yeah.
also like I started quote unquote investing in my social profile, in my investment account or whatever, every day since Tokyo. If you did something every single day since the
You'd get
Olympics
good
were
at
on
it.
last time, you would not only get good at it, but you would have this compounding effort. There's a huge, I don't know, point in any journey where all of a sudden you have this snowball of just
Mhm.
momentum and it just rolls down that hill and you're like, how did that happen? That was so easy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think that pushing the snowball up the hill until you get that inflection point it looks treacherous and a lot of people try to avoid it or they're like, how can I get heli
How
lifted
can
to
I
the
just
top of this
jump?
hill?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's in the strength that build it up to the top that you get to that inflection point and then it all starts to become a lot easier. So, it's not all about grinding it out. Like it doesn't have to be so hard and horrible. It is also super enjoyable. Like I know what it's like for me when I get into a flow state. I'm in my office right now in Little Italy. And yesterday I left at 7 o'clock because I meant to leave at 4:30. I walked
Mhm.
outside, it was dark. I had my phone turned off, my music on, and I was like creating and I was in
In
it.
the
I was
zone.
like, fuck, this is fun.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it gets
Mhm.
easier.
And then the balance of that is like that's that knowing that that feeling exists and that you can come back to it is gonna be what gets you through the day that you're like, everything's going terrible.
Mhm.
Like
100%.
everything's going upside down or backwards, or this presentation didn't go right with the client, or this employee's mad at me. Like it's going to get you to the other side of that. And I think that that's like everything that's reps in the gym, baby. It's like that's how you grow that muscle is you got to keep working at it.
So
Oh my
true.
goodness gracious. Well, I could talk to you for forever. I don't even know that we talked
No,
about the things that
literally.
we said we were going to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just like us
It just
having a coffee
happens.
date, and yeah, I'm
Literally.
obsessed. I love
Literally.
it.
Oh my gosh. Well, please plug yourself and please plug your podcast where we can find you, follow you, connect, work with you, all that good stuff.
I love that. Thank you for having me, Michelle. I always love chatting with you. And I feel like
Mm-mm.
you always push not just me, but all of your guests in like thinking creatively and differently. And I respect you so much. So thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
I'm Amber Frankhuizen. You can find me mostly on Old Money Podcast on Instagram or Amber in California. On Instagram, the agency is AF Marketing. That's AFMKTG. You can find us online there too. Thanks.
Yay. Oh my gosh. And guys, if you love this episode, don't forget to share, save, subscribe, send to a friend, leave a review. What else am I missing? I think that's it. I can
Post it
still
on your
never get my
Instagram story
sign
and
off.
tag
Yeah,
us.
post it on your story. Send us a DM. Do anything, please.
Oh, I love it.
That's the plea at the end. Well, thanks so much, Amber. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.